Lloydminster Council meeting to order on Monday, June 26th at 1:30. This time, we can now take a moment of silence or reflection. A reminder to all members of council are obligated to declare a conflict of interest or a pecuniary interest as per section 133 of the Lloydminster Charter regarding any item on this agenda. Councilor Thorson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be declaring a pecuniary interest on 7.5.1, Vault number 9 communications upgrade as it relates to my employer. And I also will be declaring a pecuniary interest on 7.4.1 as I am an executive member of one of the service clubs.
Thank you, Councilor. Any others to note? All right, thank you, Councilor. I'll call for any additions or deletions to the agenda. I will, Councilor Baker.
Under other matters, I'd just like to mention the 49th Street Railroad Crossing. It's a CNR crossing on 49th Street.
Okay. So that would be 9.1. And if I could add one, I would like to go under 7.1.2. It would be forensic audit. Any other additions or deletions at this time? Not seeing any, I would look to council for direction on the approval of the agenda. So, Councilor Buckingham.
The agenda dated June 26, 2017.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I will look to council for a recommendation on the previous council minutes of the previous meeting. Councilor Thorson.
I recommend that the regular council minutes dated June 12, 2017 be approved.
Seconder, Councilor Buckingham. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Not seeing any, we'll move on to item 6, to proclamations for Pride Week. So I ask those members of the Pride community to join me here on the left of the Proclamation for Pride Week, LGBTQ, Lloydminster. Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender and queer citizens work and live with pride in all areas of Lloydminster. And whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer citizens of Lloydminster make important contributions to our city. Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer citizens of Lloydminster historically face significant challenges as they strive towards equality. And whereas all citizens of Lloydminster take pride in our diversity and celebrate our differences. Therefore, on behalf of the Lloydminster City Council, I, Mayor Gerald Olmers of Lloydminster, do proclaim June 26th until June 30th, 2017. This Pride Week, encourage all citizens to enrich their lives in the community by being true to yourself and accepting everyone around you with an open mind and an open heart. Signed, this day, June 26th. Please support that it's our responsibility to build a strong community, and that is welcoming and inclusive to all citizens. So on that note, I would like to welcome anyone that would like to say
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Wiesner. I am the founder of the LGBTQ plus society here in Lloydminster. Recently renamed things together. When I created the group almost 2 years ago, I had high hopes that it would take off and be the big thing. I wanted people to feel they had support and a safe place to be who they are. Whether it be an LGBTQ individual or parents of an LGBTQ. Sometimes it's as simple as putting one person in touch with another who had been in the same situation or was going through something similar. Other times it's simply being there to listen. All I wanted to do was make a difference, no matter how small. Excuse me. After I did soar, I began to lose hope, but never gave up. Things moved along slowly, and a small, close-knit group of friends formed. I have met great people along the way, and many friends have been made, so I still chalk it up to a success. I never believed things would get to where they are now, and in such a short time. Since my interview with Angie at the Goat, the right people were my story, and the rest is history. If it wasn't for Kevin knowing the right people, being in the right place at the right time with the right place at work, we wouldn't be here today. I'm so pleased and so proud at how far we've come in such a short time, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you.
Returning to the agenda, to item number 7, new business, city manager's office, with the city manager for 7.1.1 contract extension.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. We've had a discussion about this at a previous committee meeting, that we're recommending that Council instruct administration to participate in the AMSC aggregated public procurement to extend the current contract for supply of electricity to December 31st, 2020, and natural gas to December 31st, 2022. If you need some further background, I'd be pleased to speak to it.
Council have any questions for administration on this matter? I think that, I was just going to say, I think that the information that was provided to council during the GPC was very complete, and the package here, as we can see as we move down further, there's certainly potential for large cost savings for the city to negotiate. Currently, energy costs are relatively low to what we've experienced in the last 10-12 years, and we can all relate to much higher energy costs. So the opportunity to lock in these contracts with the buying power that we have through AMSC, I think provides the city an opportunity to try and take advantage and leverage whatever buying power we have to the maximum ability, rather than trying to go this alone. And we're just following along with the extension that we already have
or arrangement that we currently have, and looking forward to moving forward in the extended periods. So that was the comment I wanted to share. Any other comments? Councilor Baker.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Absolutely, it speaks for itself. I think we should jump on this right now, and we're good for another 4 years. The rates speak, like I say, speak for themselves.
Well, I'll look for council for direction. Councilor Munro.
The council instructed administration to participate in the AMSC aggregated public procurement to extend the current contract for supply of electricity to December 31st, 2020 and natural gas to December 31st, 2022.
Thank you. Second, Councilor Thornton. Any discussion or further debate? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 7.1.2 was forensic audit. Up to the city manager.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. There have been a number of concerns raised over a period of time, starting with the George Cuff audit, further with a request by the mayor to have administration look into things. As a result, we've had some discussion with legal counsel to determine whether or not this was worthy of continuing on with a further investigation or not. Following that discussion, this resolution that I'd like to put before you now is a recommendation both from legal counsel and Mr. Cuff and myself, having had a look at things. And I have not found anything that I consider to be illegal, but I found things that I don't understand and can't quite analyze. So I think it's worthy of following up and clearing the air, if you will. So I have given you a copy of the resolution. If you'd like, I'd read it, or if you would like somebody else to make the resolution.
Councilor.
Be it resolved that in accordance with the recommendations of the Organizational and Governance Review Report of George B. Cuff and Associates Limited, the interim chief administrator officer, and the city's legal counsel through its solicitors, Reynolds, Murth, Richards, and Farmer LLP, the services for a forensic auditor be engaged to audit the city's records and regarding the expenses and the actions and decisions related to the expenses of councilors and mayor, management, and others as may be required for the period of January 1st, 2009 to June 30th, 2017, or such other past or future dates as may be necessary for a satisfactory forensic audit of expenses and the actions and decisions of related thereunto. As deemed necessary for conducting and completing the audit, for the forensic auditor may review any and all other city records as may be required. All steps and actions as may be necessary to give the effect that this resolution may be taken, and the rights of the city related to all matters be protected and preserved.
Thank you, Councilor. Second to that resolution. Councilor Thorson. Discussion? Comments? Councilor Thorson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just as a general comment, the way I understand it is essentially all the groups that have had access to this information have decided that it's probably a good idea to take a deeper look at it and to have an unbiased third party take a look at it. And based on those recommendations, I think it's a good idea just to take a deep dive into the information that's there. And if nothing else, this can just create processes and policies to ensure something like this can never happen again, if there is anything that is, incorrect. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Buckingham.
Thank you, Worship. I thought about this long and hard over the times we've been discussing it. Initially, I was of the favor that I don't like looking into the past as much as we could, delegate the funds and everything responsible, going towards the future and looking towards the future. with what we have discussed, I have changed my mind back the other way. So I think that adds some degree of merit to it, because I was against it in the first place. So just as information, I wanted to make sure that I had said that I was one way and come back around the other way. So for those of the public that are wondering about how much decision-making process goes into this. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess as this whole concern in the community has unfolded over a period of many months, you sit back and you try and analyze what really is happening here. And I guess for 75 years or how long we've been a city, our auditors have been asked to prepare a financial statement. And all the years I've been involved with council, I don't ever recall us asking for a forensic audit. And maybe that's somehow within our financial statements. Some audit should be, or financial audit, or forensic audit to some degree should be included annually. So I'm not sure if the blame, if that's the word you want to use, is focused on any one financial institution for preparing our financial statements. But I'm not sure I understand what we've actually asked for after I read all this. But in any case, I've been involved with one or two other organizations, and they certainly delve into the financial matters fairly in depth. Whether you call it forensic or not, I don't know, but seem to be more detailed. So, based on everything that's been discussed and said, I will speak certainly in favor of doing this audit and hopefully clearing the air for all and moving forward. If we don't, there will be a cloud hanging around here for the next 10 years. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Monroe.
And then I'll just kind of echo Councillor Buckingham. I'm with that. Past is in the past, let's move forward. But I feel that this move is just kind of the final thing that we need to do before we can finally move forward. Be confident that there's no discrepancies, and be confident in that all expenses were validated. And I think moving forward, we won't have any questions for anybody. The public won't have questions. We'll know the answers, rather than always being, what if? I wonder what that was like. Or so just the questions will be answered, I'm hoping, and I think that we'll all just have a clean slate to move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Baker.
And I'll echo those as well. I was of the same mindset of moving forward, leaving everything in the past, but I think with our interim city managers, when he's requesting that, as well as from George Huff, I think we owe it to ourselves and to the citizens of Lloyd to do this audit. So I would speak in favor of this one.
Thank you. I will as well. We look back at the CUF report, and item number 5 specifically refers to an in-depth audit of the city's action decisions regarding to expense accounts and city expenditures. I think that's what the intention of this forensic audit will do. People that are qualified, we will engage our legal firm, who will in turn act on our behalf and oversee it, and they will bring in the appropriate auditors to carry out that mission and determine the information, which will become public in due course. I don't have a time frame for that, and I don't, we'll be waiting back to hear back from our law firm to determine exactly the extent and the timeline and things like that, that this will get the initiative rolling if it is the will of the council. So if there's no further comments, I will call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving to item 7.2, the legislative services, and moving on to 7.2.1, bylaw 14-2017 procedure bylaw changes. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I will pass this on to our city clerk, and you have a bylaw before us.
Thank you. Through the City Manager to City Council. The recommendation that we have before you is that council accept the changes to bylaw 14-2017, procedure bylaw as information. And on the May 15th, 2017 GPC committee recommended changes to the draft bylaw that would be brought back to council for decision. Administration made those changes, and on June 12th, it received its first reading. And administration was directed to make further changes. Administration has made those changes, and specifically to section 15, the consent agenda was amended to provide for more clarity on the process, as well as the consent agenda will only be used for information items. Definition of the consent agenda in Schedule A was amended to clarify that it is for information items only. And section 33, delegations, was amended to require that all requests be sent to the city clerk's office and then forwarded to the agenda review committee. Administration feels that it's appropriate that the agenda review committee evaluate each request. Section 34, proclamations, was also amended to add a flag raising. Currently, there is no bylaw or policy on flag raisings, as they are generally requested in conjunction with the proclamation. Administration recommended to include it in the proclamation section of the procedure bylaw. Council has several options: is to accept the changes to bylaw 14-2017 as information. This would allow the bylaw to receive a second and third reading today and ensure that our bylaws align with the new governance model. Another option is the council directs administration to make changes to the bylaw and it be brought back to the next council meeting for second and third readings. That would cause some delay in the governance model, but administration would be able to deal with those. And finally, the council send bylaw 14-2017 back to the GPC for further information. This will delay proper alignment of our bylaws with the new governance model, but once again, we'll give council more time to review the bylaw. The government's implication of this bylaw, the previous bylaw and its amendments would be repealed as part of the process of enacting bylaw 14-2017, and its alignment with our strategic plan is clear communications through new procedure bylaw will make the governance process open and transparent to the public.
Thank you, City Clerk. Any questions or comments? Councilor Baker.
Well, firstly, Your Worship, it's quite a lengthy document, and there's no question. And whether it's all exactly the way it should be, I guess we'll know as we start to use it. But what's important to me is, and I really appreciate administration doing this, is on the consent agenda issue. We've eliminated the opportunity to bury things of important nature within the consent agenda, and that was my whole mission in the first place, because sometimes we take the consent agenda for whatever, but it spells it out clearly. Only informational items may be placed in the consent agenda portion of the agenda. And I really appreciate that being done, because I think it's more open. Other issues will be more open. Whether it takes us 10 minutes longer to deal with it doesn't really matter. And what's important is it's open. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Councilor. I think again, any other comments for Council? I'll add to Councilor Baker's. I think that this is a document. I think our procedures, as we've learned, are going to continue to evolve. And we've taken what's there in the past, and we will continue to improve them. Certainly our council is faced with items on a regular basis that's new sometimes to this council, items that were with no policy, as we found it was handled on a one-off, and now we're getting more requests. So I think that we're going to continue to see our procedure bylaw and other bylaws come forward. So I appreciate the administration reworking that, as Councilor Baker requested, adding some other items to it, the delegations and proclamations, because it's something that we deal with on a regular basis in this council chamber. I know I get bombarded by email from many proclamations. We can be doing proclamations all day, every council meeting basically of one sort or another. So I want to make sure that we have a procedure and protocol to follow, because that's what makes this chamber and any other chamber work properly. So with that, thank you so much, Council, to administration for the work that's done. And, there's no other comments, Council. I will call for the question. All in favor of receiving this resolution? I guess I need someone to make it. Thank you. We need a question. I do need someone to make it. Councilor Thorson.
Recommend that move that council accept the changes to bylaw 14-2017 of the procedure bylaw as information.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Fagnan. Any other comments before I call for the question? If not, not seeing any. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving to 7.3, community services, and 7.3.1, application for the provincial disaster recovery program assistance. City Manager.
Yes, Your Worship and Council, we have, I believe, Ann here present, and we have before you a recommendation that Council Direct Administration to apply for the provincial disaster recovery assistance for financial assistance in restoring essential services and property as a result of the substantial damages caused by the rainfall on June the 9th, 2017. I believe we've had about a dozen or so claims, perhaps more. And I'll pass it on to the city clerk to, if he has any further comments on this matter.
I think Director Sandy can probably speak to this with more.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, to the City Manager. As we presented at the June 19th GPC meeting, there was a significant event on June 9th where we have had several residents come to the city looking for some support in regards to property damage in order to apply to the provinces in order to get an application in which residents can then apply for assistance. We need a recommendation through council, and that's what we're here today asking for, is council to provide direction to administration to apply for the application.
Any questions or comments, councillors?
I can have a question and a comment and all kinds of things.
Certainly, Councillor Buckingham.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, just another example is as we go through these meetings after GPC, you know, this one to me doesn't require any kind of discussion. We've had it. You know, council was fully informed during the GPC on all the ins and outs of that. Thanks, Ann, for being there last week to do that. So if there was no further question, I'd be prepared to make the resolution.
I was just going to add a comment that thanks to administration, I think that two systems work very well. A, the system of the administration bringing this issue forward to the city as they are responsible to do, to bring forward issues. Second, the GPC had the opportunity to vet this issue very well, a good discussion, and to the teamwork, and then following where there was no actual discussion, but that's where it comes to council, at a council meeting for a vote. I think it's well received. Again, I appreciate the city's team effort on the communication. I've seen it, talking to people, they've seen the ads, they know that this program is underway and it's available. Will they qualify? That's always the question when we deal with non-insured claims and things like that you're dealing through your insurance. And it's a stressful time for residents because certainly anytime you undergo a massive change in your home, that's usually not to the positive, be it a flood or a fire or something like that. It's certainly good to know that there is some programs available in place, and as a city, I think we have a responsibility to assist our citizens where we can, and simply by moving this program forward and carrying it, going forward with the government to make sure that it's available to be applied for, and then we'll wait for the outcome. So I just want to add to that because I think it's important that we have other responsibilities other than the water and sewer in this community. We need to help with those issues that arise after the fact as well. But I certainly entertain a motion, Councillor.
Yeah, further than that, I think it's important to know that we're applying for it. There's no guarantee of anything going forward. It's something, it's almost all we can do to try and make this go forward. So thanks to the city staff for all of that, and also to all the city staff that dealt with that day. There's a lot of people, all hands on deck, they're trying to do things, and it wasn't just people's personal property that were damaged that day. City infrastructure was harmed as well in these things. So thanks to all the city staff for that. I'd like to make a resolution that council direct administration to apply the provincial disaster recovery program assistance for financial assistance in restoring essential services and property as a result of substantial damages caused by the rainfall event on June 9th, 2017.
Need a seconder for that? Councillor Baker. Any further discussion or comments, council? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving to 7.3.2, infrastructure master plan. I'll look to city manager through to the director of community services, I guess. Or city manager.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Council through city manager. Several GPC meetings ago, administration had brought forward the master plans that have been completed. The master plans include our water master plan, waterworks master plan, and system assessment, sanitary sewer master plan, stormwater master plan, transportation master plan, waste management facilities master plan, and the communities facilities master plan. Administration is looking for council to provide direction on adopting these master plans in principle, which will help guide our capital planning as we move forward.
Thank you, Director. Councilors. Councilor Baker.
Well, Your Worship, this is quite a bucket full list in one pack. In all honesty, none of us will have a total grasp on this 7. Maybe some will, but I don't have a total grasp on all 7 master plans. But I believe over a period of time, we've all had a chance to read some of it and get a feel of what's going on. And I guess I just ask a question. As we go to implement parts of those, I'm sure you'll bring that back and refresh our minds, because there's probably 1,000 pages of information there that may or may not. And I think just for openness, we should do that when we, and I'm sure you will, but not putting it down. It's just a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through Councilor Baker. The master plans are not regulated, they're not binding. They're mere guidelines into how we facilitate our growth needs as well as our infrastructure improvements, and that they would be dealt with through capital planning, whether it's a 3, 5, or 10-year capital plan. And those specific projects, as they come forward, would need council approval for every capital.
Councilor Thorson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm sure I've asked this question before and I might just forget the answer, but it does have a 5-year timeline, but how far are we away from having to begin the process of starting some of these plans over again? Because I would assume it takes at least a year or more to start to finish complete one of these. So I'm just wondering, on the ones that we have on our list here, how far away are we, generally speaking, from having to, it's not starting over because we would still have some of the information, but how far away are we from revamping them?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through Councilor Torrenson. I would, sorry, I said it wrong.
It's okay.
My apologies. We would look at a 5-year from this date. It does take a year, up to 2 years to complete the master plans. We would consider them up to date until 2020 at a bare minimum, and then we would start that process over again.
Okay.
Not much change in regards to master plans year over year, but they do need that fresh relook every 5 years.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
I found them very interesting. There's no question. There's a lot of information there, thousands of pages. But I found it very interesting going back in the history and getting into a bit of a grasp on how things started. And yeah, very informative and lots of good information. I'd like to, obviously as technology and advances, it'd be interesting to see how we can implement those into the landfill and into some of the other wastewater things. But yeah, very well done, and I think it's a good part of the roadmap to work with.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Baker.
If I may, on a supplementary question, Your Worship, Councilor Jonathan brought up a point. If we have a master plan for any one of these 7 projects, sometimes over the years I've seen where certain companies done the master plan, and if I stand to be corrected, but the next time around we get somebody else to do it, rather than taking that plan and having the same engineer relook at it and tweak it, because he's already got a bundle of background information. Like, you don't have 3 architects on one building. And I wonder if we had try and get our consulting engineer to review, that prepared the original document review as time goes on, rather than go out and start all over again. And I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through Councilor Baker. That is definitely something we do consider.
in the case of what we went through most recently with these master plans, is we were looking for a fresh look. Specific firms had done the master plans for multiple years, and it was time to have a fresh look at our system with a different set of eyes to provide similar recommendations. So coming into 2020, that is definitely something we would look at considering, is having a review and an update rather than a complete redo. And that was what was done back in 2009. So and it's not all of them, but some of them were just an updated review.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Director. I think that Councillor Fagan, the roadmap, that's what I want to make sure people are left with. Certainly our residents and taxpayers, that what we're looking at is a roadmap to go forward in the future. And certainly, what does that future look like? We're not absolutely sure, but we have a plan for 5 years, and we'll continuously update that plan because we don't know what we'll see for growth in the next 5 years. We'd love to see return back to 2-3% growth in the community, but we're not at that point this time. So certainly we have a plan to move forward. That plan can always be adjusted, but certainly, as you alluded to as well, Councillor Baker, that, and Director Stang made it very clear, it is an in principle. We're not tying our hands to anything in particular at the City Council for the direction. It's simply information that we're basically receiving with an outline of a plan that we can move forward with, and we'll be reviewing it accordingly. So, Councillor Thorson.
Thank you. Although, when I reviewed these documents, not in detail, because quite a bit of it is significantly, over my head and very technical information. But is all of this going to be available on the city's website in case there are residents out there who have a lot of free time on their hands and feel like going through some of this stuff, but at least so that they can have access to the same information that really their tax dollars paid for?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. We have already put that onto our website, and they can go in under the departments under engineering. They can get all the master plans listed there.
Excellent. Any other comments then before, I guess that from that perspective, I need council to make a recommendation. Councillor Monroe?
The council approved in principle the following master plans: the 2016 Water Master Plan, the 2016 Waterworks Master Plan and System Assessment, the 2015 Sanitary Sewer Master Plan, 2015 Stormwater Master Plan, 2015 Transportation Master Plan, 2016 Waste Management Facility Master Plan, and the 2016 Community Facilities Master Plan.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder, Councillor Fagan. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving to 7.3.3, 2017-2018 Saskatchewan Lotteries Grant Allocations. To the City Manager or to the Director of Community Services?
Yes. Thank you, Your Worship. On an annual basis, the city receives funding from the Saskatchewan Lotteries Trust Fund. In 2017, we received a total of $67,622. The Saskatchewan Lotteries Community Grant Program is a partnership among SAS Sport, SAS Culture, and SAS Parks and Recreation. The grant program assists in the development of sport and culture and recreation programs by providing funding to non-profit community organizations operated by volunteers. The City of Lloydminster receives funds which they are then distributed to local non-for-profit volunteer community groups to provide programs. The City Administration put out a call for applications on March 10th, 2017, which closed on May 15th, 2017. 23 applicants were received, totaling $170,014.55. The Saskatchewan Lotteries Internal Review Committee, comprised of 3 positions, including Director of Community Services or appointed designate, the General Manager of Family and Community Support Services, and an intermediate accounting clerk, reviewed all the applications and scored them accordingly, and have asked Council to approve the recommendations as presented in the admin report.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or for the Director? Councillor Thorson.
Thank you, Your Worship. My only question is just around kind of the selection committee. Is that something that we have a policy on, saying who's on the committee, or is that just the way we've done it normally? I just wonder because, like, recently we did create the FCSS committee and all the associated bylaws, and I just wonder if opening this up to the community a little bit more might be a good thing for allocating these funds.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through Councillor Thompson. There is a policy that does dictate the internal committee. This is something we are looking at revising as we go forward. And we'd be definitely bringing forward to a GPC in the future how council would like to see us set up that. There is two options, developing a community committee that would review the grant applications or keeping that committee on an internal basis. Both models have been in place in the past and they both have worked. This is a model that has been in place for a few years, which is why we're currently using it. But it does need to be looked at, and we do need to bring a bylaw forward that is very similar to our family and community support services. And that's something we'll be bringing forward in the future.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Buckingham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Does Sask Lotteries have a framework around that as far as how and who we can have on that committee?
And it's quite open, Councillor Buckingham. They dictate, they direct what programs would be appropriate to get funding. They provide direction around the types of programs that are applicable to it. When it comes down to actually scoring it, they don't necessarily provide direction on which model they want. Some municipalities do it from a community perspective, and others do it similar to the way we have ours. And it will really be at council's direction on how we move forward with that.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Richard. My understanding and how it has been from day one with this program, it's ultimately City Council's responsibility. There's a community group, the lottery, what do we call it?
Sask Lotteries.
Yeah, because I had been on that committee as a non-council member, and they make recommendations to council based on the criteria. That's the way it was supposed to run, rather than council out trying to research every program. And if you look at these ones today, some people obviously, I don't know what the rules are anymore, but there's some grant applications, this is all about sports and recreation, I think. And some of these grant applications have nothing to do with sports and recreation. So they're automatically, it's not because they're not good applications, it's like applying for a grant to build a road, but you're going to take the money and build something else. You know, it's got to apply to that grant structure, and some of that applies here. So ultimately, I believe, and I stand to be corrected, but I believe that City Council ultimately has the ultimate say.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Baker, absolutely, Council has the say, which is why we're bringing it forward for a recommendation. You are correct. In the past, there used to be a community committee that did the evaluations. Over the past 2 or 3 years that I'm aware of personally, and I'd have to do some research into that, it has been a totally internal committee, City of Lloydminster staff, who go through the applications and score it and bring it to council for recommendation and final approval. With the amount of applications received in total dollars of $170,000, the competition is quite competitive. Therefore, more than just the program, the completeness of applications is looked at, the amount of information provided, the types of things they're doing, all going to be evaluated through that scoring process. And then administration provides those recommendations to council, and council ultimately has the final approval process.
Councillor Buckingham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a little more clarity on that. For instance, with my role on council, I've been appointed to the FCSS committee, which is the same kind of thing. We have to look at a bunch of applications and divvy everything out. I can tell you that there was hours and hours and hours of reading through all of the applications that went with that, and then hours of so on and so forth. But I can tell you from doing this in a previous council role as well, having this come to council, I have full confidence in the fact that those processes have been followed, and I, for one, really appreciate the fact that it comes this way, and that, like you said, that every individual council member doesn't have to vet these things. There's great people that are doing those things, and thanks for it, because to me this is fairly simple when it comes to this form.
Thank you, Councilor Buckley.
Any other comments, Council?
Just that I also sat on the FCSS, and we did the SAS lottery. We did a few different. There was also with the First Nations had a lottery as well, or funding. So they were, as Aaron said, it's very thorough, very good, and I think it takes the onus off the city and it just keeps it within the community. So I think that they should be considered for taking a look at this at the SAS lotteries as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? All right, I will ask Council for direction, and that whole recommendation will have to be read. Councilor Buckingham, thank you.
I'll take that one on. The council approved the following recommended grant allocations, and the council authorized the Saskatchewan Internal Review Committee to reallocate any unused grant funds. Big Brother Big Sisters Association of Lloydminster Court for Summer Adventure Program 2017 received $2,500. The Mr. Roman Catholic Separate School Division number 89 for Youth Sports Explorers and Free Adult Gym Family Nights received $9,000. Lloydminster Association for Community Living Inc. for Recreation Liaison received $10,000. Lloydminster Native Friendship Center for Children's Summer Day Camps received $8,450. The Mr. Animal Home Society for LCYC Recreation and Support Program received $7,728. The Lloydminster Senior Citizen Society for Exercise Mats received $1,134. The Libby Center for Summer Recreation Program received $7,455.68. The Lloydminster Border Blades Speed Skating Club for 2017-18 speed skating season received $10,000. The Lloydminster Regional Health Foundation Kids Yoga and Mindfulness received $6,712.32. And I think I'm hearing whispers that I may have messed up a number on this over here.
Well, you were absolutely correct there, Councilor. There was a mistake in the motion itself that you corrected.
Yeah, I think I was looking at it, but
I'll look to Council for a seconder. Councilor Monroe. Thank you.
Sorry, just quickly. My question is just, so is the Midwest Family Connections and the Libby Young Center, there's those two, if I'm looking at the AR versus the actual agenda, unless it's just in a different order.
Actually, it's the issue that was printed on the agenda is wrong to the AR. The AR is correct for the Lloydminster Internal Home Society for LCYC Recreation Support Program to receive $7,280 rather than it's showing $7,702. Yeah, 77,000.
Okay,
7,280, and the AR is correct. The agenda item is wrong.
Okay.
The motion is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I call on the question? All in favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried. I believe Councilor Thorson, you wish to step away at this moment. Okay. So at this time, we move to 7.4 to business services, 7.4.1, property tax exemptions for nonprofit organizations. City manager?
One more.
No problem.
My understanding, Your Worship and Council, is that we have it's not loading for some reason.
I can speak to this.
Okay, I'll ask then.
Thank you through the city manager to council. This recommendation is that council approve the following 2017 property tax exemptions for the nonprofits, as of less than 15. The issue here is there are currently 16 properties owned by nonprofit organizations in Lloydminster that are not on the assessment as well as taxable. In accordance with section 314 of the Lloydminster Charter, the above 15 properties are 100% exempt from taxation as they meet the requirements of the community organization's property tax exemption regulation called. The administration is requesting the council approve that the property tax exemptions for the 2017 year, and the administration then can instruct the city assessor to make the assessments exempt on the assessment roll of 2018 to prevent further taxation and ensure the balanced budget at the end of the year. The background is the council has historically considered property tax exemptions for nonprofit organizations that own property within the city's boundaries and based on requests submitted through the applications. At the May 15th GPC meeting, the committee saw a draft tax exemption policy, and the committee recommended that the policy be brought forward to the council for decision. After further review, it was found that the policy did not confirm with the Lloydminster Charter. Section 314 establishes that nonprofits, in accordance with the Lloydminster Charter and Community Organization Property Tax Exemption Regulation, COPTR, are tax exempt upon application unless the City Council establishes a bylaw to tax nonprofits. So the council has two options here. And the first option is the council approve the 2017 property tax exemptions for nonprofits. This option will ensure compliance with the Lloydminster Charter and allow administration time to process the adjustments related to these accounts and communicate this change to the organizations to ensure that these nonprofits organizations are billed to the correct amount before the due date. And the second option is that council instruct administration to bring back further information on the property tax exemption for nonprofits. This option will allow administration to provide council with additional information. This would also delay the processing of 2017 property tax exemptions for nonprofits and potentially lead to the nonprofit organizations overpaying their taxes and then requiring refunds. This would result in extra administration costs to process the refunds. Legal review was conducted to ensure compliance with the Lloydminster Charter. The property tax exemptions for nonprofits have prompted the creation of the property tax exemptions for nonprofit organizations policy. And if council desires a bylaw to subject nonprofits to taxation, further information will come forward to future GPCs for council's information. And the budgetary impact of this particular item is the 2017 property tax exemption for nonprofits will result in a reduction of $65,558.69 of property tax revenues, $1,395.05 in bid, $34,145.79 in municipal, and $6,356.23 in capital, and $23,661.62 in education. Ultimately, the charter does not allow for us to tax these nonprofits. And so to be compliant with the charter, we're requesting council's resolution because they are already placed on the assessment roll, so we need to remove them from the assessment.
Councillor Buckingham.
Thank you, Worship. And just to be clear, this is the same AR that basically comes to council every June for an exemption because it is within the charter that this was laid out this way, comes back this way, and an exemption has to be made by resolution of council. So this is not different from any other year in the past, correct?
It is slightly different from other years because we are looking at council either exempt these ones and then move forward with a bylaw to place them on the taxation roll or not. Previously, we just asked for exemptions.
Right, okay.
So it's just further information for council.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Worship. I guess, and I'm more focused on the bylaw than I am on what's on this page right now. For example, when you have a nonprofit and they have a building for a specific use, it should be used for that use. If they decide they don't need the building and start renting it out for some purpose, it shouldn't be tax-free. I wouldn't think, because it's turned it into a commercial venture.
Right.
So when they apply for tax-free status, do they tell you what they're going to do with the unit? And if they don't, I think they should. The second thing is we review them annually, and they declare annually what they're doing with the buildings. I think that's important. And the question of school tax, I don't know if I missed it, or you said it, City Clerk Doug, the school tax portion is not,
No, we're not allowed to exempt from provincial.
no, the school tax is still.
We're only exempted from the municipal portion of taxation.
Right, yeah. But those, you know, because an empty building can become anything, and it doesn't mean it's, I think that should be policed to a point. Thanks.
Councilor Buckingham.
Thank you, Worship. Are we looking for the exemption on the first one, for instance, on the UBO Elks? That building is now turned over to the Kinsman, correct? So it's on the tax roll under their ownership title still?
I don't believe that has been completed.
Okay. So the transaction's still
Yes.
ongoing?
Ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Monroe.
So my question is, this is just a small handful added to a big list that we already have on the tax exemption, correct? Yes.
I didn't even not certainly yes.
Lots of these organizations, I just don't understand why this is being brought right now, because lots of these organizations have been around for years and years and years. How did we never catch that they're a nonprofit and we shouldn't be taxing them prior to today?
We have each year as it comes forward, they have to apply,
Okay,
and then we exempt. And what we're saying in this suggestion is that we'll catch them every year now. So, but I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work in terms of the application process. So they'll still have to apply.
sorry, they have to apply every year? This
Yeah.
isn't going to be a grandfathered thing, you never have to apply again. You have to
No,
apply every
it's-
single year.
The charter, I understand, it requires an application for exemption.
Great.
So it's not an automatic, we will tax you, it's a, we will tax you until you apply. So this will give administration the option or the right to say, okay, yeah, you've applied, you meet the criteria, you're exempt.
And they will never have to apply again?
No, every year they'll apply,
Every year.
every
So,
year.
like, why aren't the churches and everything on here then?
But they're already off the assessment.
They're already on
Yeah,
there?
they're not charged, they're not taxed.
Councilor Monroe, I think.
Sorry, I just want to
No,
clarify.
no problem, and that's good clarification, because I think taking into account Councilor Baker's point, that if someone, we make it an exempt, and I guess we'll catch the churches hopefully in the transaction, if a church is sold, and it's essence decommissioned as a church and becomes a viable commercial property,
Right.
just because we've given it to that particular church, it doesn't mean that piece of property is grandfathered tax-free as well. I think
No,
that's
absolutely.
and I think that was the point Councilor Baker had, was if we have them reapply annually, I think that's one avenue that ensures that the taxation process is followed properly by both sides, that we as the city are responsible to have the assessor do their job, and if they believe they're nonprofit and meet the requirements, they come back to, with a form of an application asking to be tax-free.
Okay,
I believe that's the way I'm looking at this. Is that correct, City Clerk?
Well, as I read the legislation, and just a quick one, this would exempt them, but I think it's best that what we're looking at this year is because we're up against the deadline with the taxation regime with us to remove them. And I would suggest that maybe our business services team brings forward a presentation to council at a future GBC that further flushes this out, because they are certainly the experts in this area. I was just speaking to it because it's an item on the agenda.
Right, so I did read through everything, but so anyone, there are other obviously nonprofit organizations within our community. So if they didn't apply, then it's their responsibility, so that's why they wouldn't be on here. It's their responsibility to apply.
Absolutely, that I'm 100% sure about. If they don't apply under the regulation, they're under Proctor, then they have to self-identify. If they haven't self-identified, then we're under no obligation.
So these are, out of all of the nonprofit, all of Woodminster, these are the only ones that self-identify themselves and go under the criteria of the community organization property tax exemption, right?
That's my understanding of this.
So these are the only ones that have applied under Proctor, but there are assessments that are not taxable, which are your churches and so forth. They're within the legislation. They're just not, you don't apply tax to those assessments. You'll see that on your assessment roll, you'll see those opted out assessments, and you'll see the taxable assessments.
I guess just for example, the one I was thinking of was Lloydminster Youth Center. So they're coordinated with the Lloydminster Into a Home, but they don't have that on there, right? So I was just surprised that they're interjoined, sort of, that one would have applied and one didn't.
Is there?
Where is it?
You've got Interval Home and Store, the center, which is where.
Oh, it's called the center?
Right,
Yeah,
second
so
house.
Okay, sorry, I didn't
And
realize
the
it was
other,
the
the other
center.
thing is there's a ton of nonprofits, I think, what I keep hearing from you maybe, is
Sorry.
that there's a ton of nonprofits that are on this list.
Yeah,
But they don't own property, right? These are the actual properties that are owned, like our Rotary Club that I belong to, for instance, we're a local nonprofit, we have no property. So we don't need this.
would the cadets own property?
There's one.
Like, just for an example, right?
No, absolutely. There may be other organizations that potentially could fit into that. They may be eligible, they may not be. No, it's a good conversation, though. It's a good
Just that.
conversation that, from that perspective, but these are the ones that have brought forward
Right.
to this point. Councilor Baker?
Point in case you're familiar, your worship, I think the Boy Scouts, no, pardon me, Big Brothers, for a number of years hadn't applied, and last year, the year before they applied. I mean, they have to self-manage, you know. Example, take the handyman. They don't own any property, but if they do, then they should be able to apply. But they don't, well, I don't know if they own any property. I don't think they do, but if, I just use that as an example. If they bought a truck barn tomorrow morning, and they could apply for exemption, is that,
That's what I understand, if they qualify, and then they would have.
if they qualify
If
under
they
the rules,
qualify,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for providing that clarification, I understand.
No.
I just wanted, I wasn't quite sure how it worked, so.
No, we haven't picked and choose.
Well, I know we didn't pick and choose, I just didn't know if there was, like, yeah.
All right, any further comments before I look to council for a recommendation? And again, this recommendation will need to be read through completely. So any volunteers?
Everybody's looking at me again.
Councilor Martin?
The council approved the following 2017 property tax exemptions for nonprofits. 2-1-100975-000 BPOE Elks. 2-12121082-000 B Fisher Enterprises Inc. 1-2-023050000 B Fisher Enterprises Inc. 1-2-023000000 B Fisher Enterprises Inc. 1-2-0229550-000 B Fisher Enterprises Inc. 1-2-0232000-000 B Fisher Enterprises Inc. 1-1-002-085-000 Leominster Sexual Assault Information Center. 1-2-089-004-000 Big Brothers and Big Sisters Association of Leominster Corp. 1-2-089-005-000 Big Brothers and Big Sisters Association of Leominster Corp. 2-2-127275-000 Libby Young Center Society Inc. 1-1-009965-000 Leominster Social Action Coalition Society. 2-1-101610-000 Leominster Interval Home Society Store. 1-1-009985-000 Leominster Interval Home Society Center. 2-1-102150-000 Leominster Interval Home Society Second House. 2-1-101125-000 Leominster Interval Home Society Shelter.
Thank you, Councilor. Seconder to that motion, Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion or debate before I call for the question? Not seeing any, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll leave Councilor Thorson out for just a moment because we'll move on to 7.5, Operation 7.5.1. Vault number 9, communications upgrade. To the city manager.
Yes, Worship and Council. We're asking the council approve the proposal from Bar Engineering to upgrade communication at Vault 9 for $61,850. In addition to the AR that's the request for a decision that's before you, Bar Engineering has submitted a further letter dated June the 20th. I don't know if a copy of that letter is on your desk. When they are committed to the $61,850 at a fixed fee, there will be no contingency. And so we discussed that, I think, at length in GPC. One of the concerns was that contingency, because we were pulling the money together from reserve from last year and this year's budget. We had a set amount of funds set aside for this project, and we were concerned that, or the council was concerned that what happens if it exceeds that. And so what they've committed to us at this time is a letter that says BAR supplies all goods and services to complete the work for a fixed fee of $61,850 for the scope of work outlined in the proposal. So I would assume that with that commitment that council is prepared to consider this recommendation.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilor Baker.
Question if I may, here.
Certainly.
They make reference to service to design and specify equipment in their quote. They design and specify the equipment. Now, does the city know what that equipment is? It said engineering and automation only. BAR provides consulting services, design and specify equipment, procurement of instrumentation, installation services, budgetary resources. But I'm confused on consulting service to design and specify equipment. Is there equipment of choice, or do we just take what BAR specifies?
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilor Baker, I'll ask Director Stang to respond.
My understanding, we could do some further investigation into this, but my understanding is we've asked the consultant to provide a solution to the communication problem. They would have been the ones who looked at what was required in order to meet our needs, and they would have provided recommendation on the equipment required in order to do that function. And therefore, if they were doing a design, they would recommend the equipment needed in order to facilitate our needs. Yes.
I guess I'm not suggesting anything, but you know, there's good, better, and best. You buy things, and I'm sure our engineering department, Donna, will be looking at whatever is specified to make sure that somewhere out there you guys got a list of good quality products that you like to use. And I think that that's really key. If it's not specified what kind of equipment, I believe that when you're done, you want the equipment that you think you need.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through Councilor Baker. We have an extremely good working relationship with BAR Engineering. They understand what our operational needs are, and we're looking at them to provide the recommendation on the needed equipment. The team that they're working for would ensure that that equipment is compatible with whatever other functions they're working on. So there would be a collaboration between city staff and the consultants in order to ensure we're getting what we need.
To me, that's really important.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Buckingham.
Thank you, Worship. Just for clarification on that, in the GBC meeting, when our general manager was here speaking to this topic, she spoke specifically to that, saying that BAR had done the vault work on the other ones, and that having that continuance of them doing both of these things would bode well for the communication, the standard equipment, so on and so forth, because they were very well versed in what they were doing there. So I think we're well taken care of in that regard. I stand to be corrected, Director Stang, but that's what she told us in fairly certainty.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I'd just like to add, I'd like to thank administration for going back after the GPC meeting. That was my concern was that at $61,850 at a cost plus minus of 10%, we could potentially be over what council will have the opportunity to vote on today and over their budget. I didn't want to see them stuck that they were going to come over budget if that's truly what it was, but I think after the review, the city and BAR Engineering went back and said they could guarantee that they could do it for $61,850. So we can stay within the budget that's been outlined at the present time and not have to cause another problem and further delay. The council finds some more money, a few $1,000s, simply that much. So appreciate council administration doing that and going back and working with the contractor. Further questions or comments before I call for the recommendation? If not, I'll ask for someone for recommendation for 7.5.1. Councilman Rowe.
The council approve the proposal for Bar Engineering to upgrade communications of vault number 9 for $61,850.
Thank you. Seconder. Councilor Buckingham. Any further discussion, council? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Could I ask, let me thank you if you could invite the council back in. Okay. Welcome back, council. You were back to back, so it took a little while to put your things. You may want to check the minutes later and see what jobs you got while you were out. All right, moving on to Operation 7.5.2, proposed road closure of the fast gas.
Your worship and council, further to rather extensive discussion at the GPC meeting last, we're recommending that council grant first reading to the bylaw 16/2017 being a bylaw to close plan 4D236 HW. All that portion of lane south of boundaries of lots A and B containing 0.02 hectares or 0.05 of an acre, more or less, within southeast quarter, section 12, township 50, Range Road 1, west of the 4th, and that council establishes a public hearing to be held at City Hall Council Chamber during a regular council meeting July 17th, 2017 at 2 p.m. The issue is, as we discussed, is in order to align with the parking requirements of the land use bylaw. Parkland Fuel Corporation will be required to close approximately 0.022 hectares, 0.06 of an acre as part of the registered road within that legal description.
Thank you, City Manager. Comments? Councilman Rowe.
I just want to make a comment that, again, this is why the GPC meetings have been so wonderful, that we are fully informed and have all the information and make these decisions so much easier for us to make. And just to reiterate that even with this road closure, the city still does have any access that they need to maintain anything. That's part of the clause, I guess, so. Anyone else?
Councilor Craig.
And just to let everybody know that all the neighbors have been spoken to. There's been really no complaints. All the utility companies, I think administration has done a great job of making sure that everybody that needed to know about it knows about it. And I see no issues moving forward.
I think that to add to that, I believe with the first reading, there will be a public hearing. So if someone from this meeting goes away and says, what lane closure, and all of a sudden they become aware of it, there is going to be an opportunity in the next council meeting to have them speak and voice their concerns so that we can be better informed if that's the case. We've got a great deal of information in front of us right now, but that's why the public process is there, and we will invite anybody that has a concern about closing that lane. They'll have that opportunity to make their presentation to City Council in July. Any other comments before I look to Council Baker?
I may have missed something, Your Worship. Were letters sent out to the neighbors?
Yes, I believe.
They were. Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah.
Just there.
And the work has been done. Yeah, so the legwork has been done, but we will. So what basically we're looking for is that first reading to get it to a public hearing so that if anyone else still has issues, that they have the opportunity to bring it forward. I'll look for Councilor Craig.
That council grant first reading to the bylaw 16/2017 being a bylaw to close plan 4236 HW, all but portion of the lane south of the south boundaries of lots A and B, block 1, plan 4203 MC, lying within the limits of proposed lot 10, block 1, plan 172, containing 0.02 hectares, 0.05 acres, more or less within the southeast 1/4 section 12 TWP 50 range 01 WM4M, and that council establishes a public hearing to be held at City Hall Council Chambers during regular council meeting on July 17th, 2017 at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor. Seconder? Councilor Buckingham. Any further questions or comments? I will call for the question. All in favor of first reading? Opposed? Carried. All right, moving on to the agenda, 7.6, strategies and partnerships. I see nothing at this time. And I will then move to 7.7. 7.7.1, bylaw 14-2017 procedure bylaw.
This is a continuation of our discussion earlier about the procedure bylaw amendments that were made to the first reading, which you've agreed to. And so this is second, and we'll request third reading of finalization for the bylaw 14.0-2017.
Excellent. Any comments? Councilor
Also
Baker,
move, if you wish.
if you'd like to read the recommendation, Councilor.
Resolution that bylaw 14, 2017 be, procedure bylaw be given second reading, pardon me, not first reading.
Yep, second reading, excellent. Seconder, Councilor Torson. Any further discussion, comments? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And that bylaw 2017 being a procedure bylaw be given third and final reading.
Second, Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, I'm going to move to item number 8, Mayor and Councilor reports. Basically, I'll keep it short. Certainly, it was a beautiful Saturday, and I think the downtown Street Fest was very well attended by our community. I know there was numerous activities going on. Last weekend, the weekend before was the Just Cruising Car Show and Shine. That was very well attended, and again, we were the sun shone, sunshine, so it was good. It was excellent, and we've had some excellent weather. So for the weekend activities, certainly the community has been extremely busy. Been a lot of different meetings, and I will have a report for council attached to the next council meeting of the June activities that I've been keeping busy with from that perspective. Certainly, I guess that this is our last opportunity to meet before Canada Day, so I certainly encourage the council members, residents of the city to take full advantage of this Canada Day. It is our 150th anniversary as a country. I think that we can be all very proud of the community and the country that we've become. We've been very fortunate. Thank you to our forefathers that established Canada, to John A. Macdonald and the gentlemen that sat around that table to make this all happen. Quite a process. Being in this chair, governing a city our size, I can't imagine trying to bring a country together. That would have been an immense challenge. So I hope people take advantage of all the activities in the city. I know we've got publications, it's on Facebook, there's many different activities, but I think the major one, two major ones outside of the actual celebration starting at 1 p.m. at the Bud Meadow or All Seasons Park, I think is very important, but I think the CF-18 flyby that's arranged for just around 11:26-28. I'm not exactly sure, but if you're out at a quarter after 11 and being prepared, you'll see some of our finest flyers in Canada fly by with CF-18s out of CFB Cold Lake, I believe. So I encourage people to get out on Canada Day. If it's not here in the city, please take time to reflect on our great country, the contributions that our forefathers have made, and where we're going. Because I think we have a lot to be very proud of. We're still a young country in comparison to a lot of other places, but I really encourage people to get out for that day. Any other council members? Councilor Buckland.
Thank you, Worship. Just a bit of personal reflection for the months of May and June, getting to sit up here as deputy mayors. For those that don't know, we do this in 2-month intervals, and my months of service for May and June. An incredible honor, and a thank you to all the organizations and groups that invited me out as deputy mayor to bring readings on behalf of the city and attend those things. And it's certainly an honor, which next meeting you'll see Councillor Fagnan move over here, and I'll go back and try and fix my chair that Ken's been adjusting for 2 months just waiting for me to return to. So anyways, we do that in 2-month intervals. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to my next 2-month stint as deputy mayor. Thanks again to all.
Thank you. Councillor Fagnan.
There was a few of us council members in your worship that attended the Avery School, and great to see that organization, how it's blossomed. This is a record year for them. I think they had 47 graduates, and I go back being involved with them in a little bit, a little ways right from the beginning. So it's just nice to see where it's come from. Very well ran and very well needed facility in our city. That's for sure.
I truly support those comments very much, Councillor. I think that certainly Avery School fills a need, and they certainly, it's just incredible to see the students that have graduated there this year, the pride of themselves, their family, and it fills a void that's in their community, and I think it's extremely proud. I reflected back, it was just seemed like Christmas time when they invited us there, short after we were elected for the Christmas celebrations, and all of a sudden the school year's done, and it reflects back, it's the end of June already, and wow, time has been flying from our perspective. Councillor Baker.
Well, Your Worship, I had Avery School on my list too, and a couple of things. They had 48 students, largest class ever graduate from that program. But another interesting thing was Spiro Kokonis' picture on the wall. He's an honorary graduate and a very strong supporter of Avery School and with food services and whatever. So good for the Kokonis family and what they do for that school was great. The other thing I just wanted to mention tomorrow, Pinty's Grand Slam of Curling announcement is tomorrow, or kind of a kickoff at the Lloydminster Golf and Country Club from, I think it's 11:30 to 1. Anybody's got time, slip up and say hello. I know Kevin Martin, for anybody who knows a little bit about curling, he's kind of Mr. Canada, and he's going to be there and to promote the event, which is coming up in October in our community, and I just thought I'd mention that and remind everybody if they want to get out. And I'm sure the press will get it up there. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Yeah, I think that's the other important thing. There's so much that's happened, but I think there's so much, we're going into that summer season. I encourage everyone to drive carefully because we're going to have students of all ages out on the streets as of the end of this week that are going to have summer break on their mind, and I encourage people to drive safely because this is certainly a time we want to be aware of. We've got Colonial Days on the schedule for this council. This will be the first opportunity for us to try our hand at flipping pancakes. So I invite everyone to make sure they make that appointment on Thursday. I believe it's the 13th of July here in front of City Hall, and invite all residents to join us for pancakes and just a whole slate of events that week. So I think it's going to be an extremely busy couple of weeks, and it's great. If the weather continues, we're lush and green, and we're very fortunate. So I wish everyone a very safe and happy Canada Day. No other reports then? Moving on to number 9, other matters, and I believe Councillor Baker, you had brought up 49th Street CN rail crossing.
Yes, Your Worship, there is an ongoing problem with our city and every other city in Canada, and that's railroad crossing maintenance. I know the railroads are involved, I haven't got all the detail in my head anymore, but the 49th Avenue CNR crossing, the south crossing, is in horrendously bad shape. I went over it twice on Friday and twice today, and you better slow down. And I just, I know that engineering is busy, but we got to get on the railroad tail, and somebody's going to run into some big problems on that crossing. That's important that we look at that.
So I believe that that could be something that can be directed to back to the city manager's office to raise that issue with CN.
I realize the railroad's involved in everything, but I forget that.
Right, we'll have another look at that in terms of signage and so forth as well until we get somebody in there to fix that. Okay, because as you heard, it's probably going to get a little more dangerous as it continues to deteriorate.
Yeah. Need some planks.
Yeah, I think that there was some spikes starting to, or the bolts that hold the planking in place. So certainly maybe we might need to take that one a step further and contact CN and talk about the opportunities of some of the newer crossings they have on highways that are very smooth. I've traveled across a few CN crossings and I was shocked because nothing rattled, and that was a nice thing to see. So we'll certainly raise that issue, Councillor Baker. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any other issues? Matters? If not, I will look to inquiries from the media.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today we have media requests for yourself, Your Honors, Councillor Baker, and Councillor Tran.
Thank you very much. I will look for a recess. Motion to recess? Councillor Buckingham. Seconder, Councillor Fagner. All in favor of recess? Carried. Thank you. I know it. We missed it. We missed it.